Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Previously, one of the witnesses revealed that they had taken a photograph just seconds, maybe even less than a second, before the huge accident happened. And it depicts a balloon, a passenger balloon, suspiciously empty of passengers in the basket, about to be popped by an arrow fired from a crossbow. And, well, Ryunosuke reasoned that maybe the whole teleportation thing was a sham, and that the real Odie Asman was stuck in the balloon, and it being popped early was some terrible accident? Hard to say, but at any rate, Hairbrain did not like the implication that his science was a fraud, so he took the stand and, in a desperate bid to prove himself right, is now trying to admit to killing the poor dude, so our job just got a lot harder. Before we begin though, I do want to say I have gotten a few comments saying that me replacing Odie Asman's name with Mr. Stinky, the joke has kind of run its course, so I hear ya. I'm gonna get serious about this now, okay? So there's that. Let's begin. That it was me who stabbed Mr. Buttstench. Yes, it was me with my faithful friend and partner, Andrew the Screwdriver. Okay, I couldn't resist. Okay, no more jokes. Seriously, I will go to Odie Asman, right? Butt stench. Oh, goodness. Oh, I'm like a 5-year-old. Ordar? Defendant, explain this sudden confession.
Objection!
Professor Hairbrain, what are you talking about? It's what I've said all along. I must protect my hypothesis and my precious machine. You stand there and claim it was all a trick, all an elaborate prank, but where's your proof? No, you'd have to examine the machine if you wanted to prove it, but then it would all be over. My beautiful hypothesis would be laid bare. I mean, the indignity of it. It's clear that you drew the plans for the experiment, but you didn't actually build it. It's quite conceivable that you were duped, Professor. If you'll just... Barak! Yes? I'll cooperate. I'll do whatever you say, I swear it. So please, ensure the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act is adhered to and protect my creation. Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice at this critical juncture. Here's to my learned Nipponese friend. What? And his upcoming attempt to clarify the defense's position in the light of the accused's confession. Do you intend to formally assert that the experiment was nothing more than a conjuring trick? Because the moment you do, the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act that protects the professor's invention will cease to apply. The prosecution will then demand a rigorous examination of the machinery involved in order to establish the truth. However, if you acknowledge that the machine is genuine and instrumental in the victim's murder, any chance of investigating will be crushed, and the confidentiality of the professor's hypothesis preserved. Well, counsel, what is the defense's official position on this matter? What Professor Hairbrain, my client, actually asked of me was to prove that the explosion on stage was an accident and protect the secrecy of his hypothesis. But there's no way to do that without implying the professor's guilt. Do I protect my client's life by asserting his innocence? Or do I uphold my client's request but see him condemned? Either way, I can't avoid betraying his trust. You've been silent long enough. Isn't talking your trade, my learned friend? Or has all knowledge of English escaped your confused Nipponese mind? Mr. Naruhodo! There's no escape here. I have to make a choice. But it's an impossible one. I have to give up on something, but what? The defense asserts that the defendant's instantaneous kinesis machine was in fact... Well, I think it's about time we got to our first, jury cross-exam... What the hell's it called? The jury thing. It's time for the jury thing. Ah! No, I can't say it. My client placed his faith in me. I can't just let him down. Wait, did I get it backwards? What must I give up on is not the question you have to ask yourself here. It's what can I protect? Who? Huh? Hello again, Mr. Naruhodo. It's been far too long. Are you real? Is this a hallucination? Susato-san! But what are you... Hiya! Okay, it's her. She's real. My first Susato takedown in 6 months. There'll be time to talk later, Mr. Naruhodo. For now, we must concentrate on the task at hand. It's good to see you again. Which is working out not what I have to give up on, but what I can protect. Professor Hairbrain. Yes? Yesterday you told me that science is the pursuit of truth. Well, my job is to pursue the truth too. Yes, of course. And personally, I believe that you didn't stab Mr. Asman. I think you've come to realize something yourself too, haven't you? That your experiment and the machine you built with the victim are questionable. The truth behind that is what we must both pursue now. Wag! So, you've finally opened your eyes. What? And as for you, Albert, you can't ignore this any longer. Having heard my learned friend's assertion, don't you have something to say? Barak. Lord Van Zeeks. Gosh, I've never heard him speak that way before. In truth, there is one thing, something I've remembered that's of relevance. What? On the day it happened, just before I began the experiment, I saw a man near the stage. A man holding that crossbow. I beg your pardon. Professor, did the man have any distinguishing features? What did he look like? Tall. Taller than me, and thin. Thinner than me, with straight hair, straighter and wider than mine. Let me see, one less lens than me too, a monocle, a rather stylish black monocle. But one thing in particular will help to positively identify the man. You see, I know him very well. After all, he's the engineer who built my invention. What? He built the machine? That's right. Mr. Asman introduced him to me a year ago. He's a man by the name of Enoch Drebler. Drebber? Does this name mean something? Members of the jury seem flustered. Not a name any scientist wishes to hear. The man's an abomination. Not a name any conjurer wishes to hear either. Who on earth is he? I'm afraid this isn't the first tale of this nature that I've heard in scientific circles in connection with that name. There's talk of other flamboyant experiments that turn out to be nothing but staged trickery in the end. Obviously, the rascal is after the government's research grant money. When magicians are in need of money, I have heard of them resorting to these underhand tactics. Some acquaintances of mine with experience of such things have mentioned Enoch Drebber's name before. The man is both an engineer and a magician. Yes, we're dealing with an unparalleled confidence trickster here. That's Enoch Drebber for you. Well... made it out of that by the skin of our teeth. So it's true then. My invention, my great machine, it was just a grand illusion? Considering what we've just heard about Mr. Drebber's character, I'm sorry to say that sounds increasingly likely. Even though no one else believed it, I wanted to. I wanted to believe that machine would function exactly as my hypothesis predicted. Which is why you were so opposed to it being investigated, I presume. I knew that if the machine was examined in detail, its construction would give away my hypothesis. Obviously, I didn't want that to happen, but at the same time, I knew that if it was found to be nothing more than a trick, than a work of deception, then everything I'd worked towards, all my research, all my dreams, my whole life would be over. I was terrified at the prospect. So you really had no idea then, did you? About the true nature of the machine that was built, and the true nature of Mr. Drebber. I never questioned anything. I didn't want to question it. It's entirely possible that Mr. Asman and Mr. Drebber were working together to use you as a means of fraudulently acquiring the research grant money. When I announced my invention to the crowds that day, it was the finest moment of my career. I pulled all the levers and turned all the dials in exactly the way Drebber had described. When the smoke suddenly started billowing out, I panicked. I didn't know what was happening. But I really don't know how the whole illusion was made to work. I don't know anything anymore. Let me confirm one final point with you, Professor. Do you now consent to the prosecution submitting the necessary paperwork to release your invention from the protection afforded by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? I miss us extraterritorial rights. I miss it. Yes, please go ahead. I'm very sorry. It would appear that we shall have to suspend proceedings for the remainder of the day now. Oh! Lord Van Zeeks. My lord. The court has newly been made aware of another party whose involvement in this matter is critical. Yes, Mr. Drebber. Gather information about the man. If possible, I should like him served with a subpoena. With pleasure, my lord. Now, counsel for the defense. Yes, my lord. When we reconvene, I shall be looking for one thing and one thing alone from you. Evidence that the defendant is innocent of the crime for which he presently stands accused. I understand. Good. In that case, this court is adjourned until tomorrow morning. Phew. Well, time for a happy reunion. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes? I'm so sorry. I was wrong. You were right. I tricked you. You trusted me. I dragged you into my mess. Oh, how did it ever come to this? I'm so sorry. Did you really have no idea, Professor? About what Mr. Drebber was really up to, I mean? About what he was really constructing? Naturally. That machine was the embodiment of my hypothesis, of all my hopes and dreams. I had complete faith in it. All right. In that case, I won't say any more. Now, sadly, the murder accusation against you still stands. So we must do as much investigation as we can before the trial resumes tomorrow. Well, thank you for doing so much for me. I'm so sorry for arriving late this morning, Mr. Naruhodo. Arriving late? Didn't you receive my postcard? I wanted to let you know when I'd arrive. Postcard? What postcard? I hid it from you, Runo, so it would be a surprise. Well, did it work? I was surprised, all right. Especially when she threw me to the ground. Oh dear, I'm so sorry. I was just so happy to see you again that it sort of slipped out. Maybe we could stick to more traditional displays of emotion in the future. Susie's train was late into London Victoria this morning, you see. But we made the coachman really whip the horses hard so she didn't miss the whole trial. Hooray, animal abuse! I was watching from the gallery for a while, but in the end, I'm afraid I couldn't contain myself. Well, I'm glad you didn't. Oh. Having you at my side in court gives me the strength I need to win. So I'm, delighted to see you back in London. Oh, you're too kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I'm delighted to be here. I hope I can continue to be of service to you. Of course. So what's brought you back? Did Professor Mikotoba not protest? Let's save all that conversation for when we're back at home, shall we? You know, I've made one of my most special blends ever for this special occasion. Oh, Iris, how wonderful. I can't wait. Hooray, Susato's back. Susato-san was back in London. It's hard to describe how happy that made me feel at the time, but despite my elation, our tale was about to take yet another extraordinary turn. Huh? Who's a what? Who? Who? What? To be continued. Right now. 2:41 p.m. The day's still young.
Oh, this room, it's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to stay so familiar.
I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true.
So is your father all right, Susie? What happened?
My father? Yes, Professor Mikotoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill with a very high fever for some unknown reason.
That's right. So I was surprised to learn you'd be coming back so soon. Surprised, but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you, that it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that.
Well, we're all delighted to have you back.
It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium.
The International Forensic... That's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned.
Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh!
You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan.
Yes, of course, I shall.
And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Kazuma.
I know. I'll tell you all that I can.
Well, hey. Glad she's back. Let's ask her about some stuff.
You're still taking good care of that armband, I see. I'm so pleased.
Well, yes, it feels like I wouldn't be me without it now, to be honest.
Oh dear, there seems to be a thread coming loose just there, look. I'd be only too happy to mend it for you, Mr. Naruhodo.
Oh, thank you. I must have scraped it against something again. I'm always doing that.
Then take better care of it, please.
It was all going so well, until I ruined it. Any thoughts on the news? About this paper, Miss Usato.
Yes, it's all about the great exhibition. I've been dreaming about it, you know.
I was sorry that you were going to miss it when you were called back to Japan.
So was I. I felt desperately unlucky. But here I am, back in London while it's underway. It's a dream come true.
Perhaps you're not as unlucky as you thought then.
Once we've helped Professor Hairbrain out of this terrible situation, we should all explore it together. And of course we must invite the Professor's good friend, Lord Van Zieks, as well.
Your luck might not stretch that far. Mr. Sato, do you see this?
You have such great expectation in your eyes, Mr. Naruhodo, but I'm afraid nothing particularly useful comes to mind at all.
Oh, sorry. I'm not sure what I was expecting, really.
This was used to shoot down the balloon, wasn't it?
Yes, with a flaming arrow. It's quite a formidable weapon.
I'm quite accomplished with a longbow myself, you know.
No, really?
If you were to balance an apple on your head, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm quite confident I could hit it from a good 50 meters away.
I don't know. I think there's no telling what could happen. William tell? Quite confident, you say. Does the apple necessarily have to be on my head? Nope, nothing for the diagram. How about the body? Nope. Or maybe you have something about the autopsy report. No. You have any words for our good friend Andrew? Not quite. And lastly, nothing for the photograph of the air. From the air. So anything to say about the environment? Thinking back, that spade's been in here since we first moved in, hasn't it?
I'm sure I told you before, Mr. Naruhodo. It's not a spade, it's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade.
No, spades are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a shovel.
The great spade-shovel war rages on. How about the Dharma? Whoops.
I see your Dharma still only has one eye filled in.
Well, we agreed that it's something we do together, didn't we? We could do it right now if you like. I'd be happy with that.
I rather like the anticipation, I think, Mr. Naruhodo.
Are we still talking about the Dharma? I don't think we're talking about the Dharma still.
You have water gently boiling on the stove, I see.
It feels wrong somehow if I can't hear the water bubbling away. And we have plenty of logs. It's not like we have to worry about paying for gas.
It's important to open the window for fresh air when the fire's burning, though. You can't keep it closed just because it's cold outside. It could be a matter of life and death.
Avoiding the freezing winter air is a matter of life and death too, if you ask me.
Oh, well, perhaps a nice cup of tea will warm you up later.
You see, I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers as always.
You really must tidy it all up, Mr. Naruhodo. No more excuses.
But, Miss Usato, the way I see it, all these papers building up on my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are so I never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences.
In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed.
Still can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm the lawyer here. Oh, hello, Iris.
It must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Hurley's greatest exploits. I called it The Hound of the Baskervilles.
But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it, and put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it.
So nobody knows anything about it apart from Hurley and I. But for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie? Oh, it sounds so exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it.
Uh-huh. I remember that.
And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it. Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time. Oh!
Did I skip dialogue with Susato?
I'm only sorry I've had to keep it from you for so long, Iris.
No, I think we're gonna be able to skip back out of this, so we're good, we're good.
It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study, and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, "The Hound of the Baskervilles."
What?
My Baskerville story? Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and...
Susato, what are you doing?
Oh, Father.
Did you look at those papers?
No, I simply read the label, that's all.
Well, put it out of your mind.
Sorry?
Forget that you ever saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand? But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan?
I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes's exploits. When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions, and there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you. Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie.
That settles that, I suppose. Nothing about the... Oh! Sneaky, the aquarium.
I'm so pleased to see all our sea creatures doing so well in the aquarium.
Yes, the prawns are still swimming and the anemones are still swaying. Obviously, I've been looking after them carefully. At first, I used to drool whenever I looked at those juicy prawns, but not anymore. They're like part of the family now.
I don't suppose they'll ever know how close they were to meeting their maker.
Gods in Ryunosuke's stomach? Your room through there should be exactly as you left it. I've still never been inside. I've never been invited.
Of course not. Only Iris is allowed in my room.
No doubt I'll be hearing you two giggling away in there again then. I left your desk completely untouched, Miss Susato, so it would be ready for you whenever you return. Have I? My God, have I never once clicked on this little blank table? I don't think I have.
It's beautifully clean. There isn't a speck of dust on it anywhere. You've been cleaning in my absence, Mr. Naruhodo. Whatever next?
Well, I couldn't allow my great assistant's desk to sit there gathering dust, could I?
It really is exactly as it was when I left. I'm so touched. But sadly, your desk is also exactly as it was, too.
Well, that's how it should be, after all.
Oh dear, I'd forgotten how that clean-cut smile can be so disarming.
Well, time to replay this entire, collection of games, this time clicking on the table. Also, what is this?
Oh, I'm so looking forward to making you some tea again, Mr. Naruhodo.
Which you think I wouldn't like, given that I'm not keen on bitter flavors. But it is Susato-san's tea. And it's amazing what a little cake or something on the side can do.
I would dearly love to serve you some sort of Japanese sweet alongside your matcha green tea. But I suppose that's simply not possible given how long we've been staying here in London.
Well, I do like the little chocolates you put with my tea. They go wonderfully.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, you would, wouldn't you?
That gives me a warm glow inside for some reason. Alright, that's everything, I think. Whoops. Now, actually, finally, to business.
When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But, curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely.
The awful trial? Oh, yes. For the murder of Giselle Brett.
Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing! I wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Runo?
Yes, I suppose so.
I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe.
I can see it in my mind's eye. It's beautiful. I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Usato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikotoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter that it was something to do with that convict salute we found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings.
That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of the collar in the report he submitted about his time in Britain.
Oh. Hold on. Yeah, right.
I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet.
Why would that be, then?
Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it was, then I intend to find the answers for myself. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie.
That's a very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris there. Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Oh, what do you want to bet that's the site of the 4th or 5th case in this game?
Yes, and from Japan, my father and Judge Jigoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe.
Well, Professor Mikotoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say?
Yes, His Excellency, Judge Seishiro Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruhodo. Last year, in the Supreme Court, you can't possibly have forgotten. That terrible trial of yours when you were accused of murder.
Yes, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days.
Well, it was Judge Jigoku who presided over that trial.
If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy never to see that man's face again in my life.
Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed to me going on ahead.
Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart was put in an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important.
I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General.
The most senior position in the British justice system.
He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution.
Wow.
That's what Father said, anyway. Apparently it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition.
Does Professor Mikotoba know Lord Strongheart personally, then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to much of it. That is a wonderful way to phrase that.
How trying for you.
Giselle Brett. The woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongly accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's a name I won't forget for as long as I live.
The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget.
Sorry?
Since the incident, our government's intelligence services have been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist.
Didn't exist? But how can that be?
It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin, and she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front.
Shin? So she... That's a Japanese name. What the fuck? A front? Who on earth was she then?
Miss A. Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her.
Like, Ashen? I know that in Japanese, Shin kind of means like new or renewed. Something along those lines. A Shin. Maybe she bumped into furniture a lot. Because she bumped her shin on everything. No? No, I don't think that's the case.
Nobody knows why, or even how she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery.
But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. Also, it occurs to me, okay, maybe this A Shin wasn't actually, Japanese. I assume they would have found out her real nationality during autopsy, so her being, well, European of some kind makes sense. What could the woman have been up to?
I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand.
And now she's been killed, while all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. It sounds like she was some kind of agent sent to close a loose end. If John H. Watson is related to that Hound of the Baskervilles story, one that reveals some sort of truth to the conspiracy that Herlock Sholmes and Mr. Mikotoba want so desperately to cover up. Oh, it's all connected.
I'm afraid so.
A Shin. Who on earth was she? And why do I feel as though I've heard that name before somewhere? Oh, crap. Don't do that to me. Where? Oh. Shin? It's really... The name stands out to me, but I don't think I've heard it before, have I? Well, anyway, what about Kazuma?
After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange.
I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's fate. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that the guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship, and that he'll never...
Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later, I visited the man in his prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Kazuma-sama.
And what did you learn?
After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen at the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consulate staff there.
Should have been?
Well, it turns out that his body never arrived. It just disappeared.
What? Kazuma's body vanished? Uh-huh. Least surprising thing in the world.
Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown.
Oh, from the game's intro.
Except Kazuma-sama isn't there.
Did Professor Mikotoba know about this?
Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Kazuma-sama's body as we speak.
I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? Thinking back now, some of the things that happened on the SS Burya were definitely strange. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive?
Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. When Kazuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly.
You're right. So if Kazuma hadn't actually been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes had lied to us.
But there's no reason why he would possibly have done such a thing.
I mean, he would have done it if Kazuma asked him to. I suppose that's true, yes.
The idea that he might still be alive somewhere, it wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it, because if it turned out not to be true, then I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me.
Oh, Miss Usato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Usato-san we're talking about, after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well.
So you're fully abreast of the situation already, Miss Usato. I'd expect nothing less, to be honest.
I would think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber, the engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick.
Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it, well known in the fields of science and magic.
Then we need to go and arrest him.
Well, yes. He must know the truth behind this case, so I agree we really do need to find the man.
It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down. Which is a job for the police or a great detective.
Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think.
Good idea. Well, best of luck then.
Oh, you're not coming today?
I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know later how you get on, won't you?
That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong. Yep. Oh, no, something new. What to do?
Do you know? I honestly thought I might never have the opportunity to return to Great Britain. And certainly not so soon.
It's funny. For the past 6 months, I haven't been able to work in court. Meanwhile, you've been raising a storm in the Supreme Court of Judicature back in Japan.
Please, Mr. Naruhodo, I may have been dressed as a man, but it was a very reserved performance.
So what your father said in his letter about a Ryutaro takedown is reserved?
Well, anyway, I'm back here in this great capital now, and ready to assist you again in any way I can.
Thank you, Miss Usato.
It's my pleasure, Mr. Naruhodo.
Alright. Well, let's move. But we'll take things one thing at a time. The Sholmes suite. Is Sholmes right here? No, he is not. Unless... No, he is not. Probably still the Wax Museum. Okay, look, I don't have it in me. I can't examine this room again. No. I'll spare both of us. Anything in the Lord Chief Justice's office? Who the friggin' hell is that? Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Strongheart? For some reason, when I look at them, I get like the image of a crane in my head. I think it might be the hair.
I wonder. I've never seen her before.
Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrabbling to respond. Lord Van Zeeks is in Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents investigation at the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. It's scrap metal now, is it?
Until later then, Lord Strongheart.
Yes, thank you. Got the caduceus on their chest as a brooch. Neat. Probably a medical lady. Definitely a scientist going by the white coat, but the caduceus is a giveaway that it's medicine. Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney... Courtney, you say? Oh, wow. Okay, I know, Courtney, Judge Courtney from Investigations 2 was a fan translation, but wow. Oh, she must be like Scottish or Gaelic or something. Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I can't tell the difference between Irish, Scottish, and Gaelic. It's all the same to me. But I'm pretty sure that's pronounced she. That was Dr. Courtney Shee, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. About Mr. Asman. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you what she concluded. If you want to know, you'll have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensics laboratory.
Ah, right.
Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time.
So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore.
Well, tough luck, good sir. You're going to have to wait 24 hours. Or, given that this is the end of the video, more like 23. Because, yeah, if you're watching this as it goes up, then it would be like 11 a.m. Pacific time. And then the next video would go live at 10 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah, 23 hours. That works. Well, hey! New character. So pale. White hair. Come to think of it, didn't Hairbrain say that Enoch Drebber had long white hair too? But I'm pretty sure Enoch is a masculine name, I think. Well, I've heard that name before, but it comes up so rarely. It's like old-timey. Like your grandfather's 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 old-timey. Actually, no, isn't it biblical in origin? I don't know. It's weird. John is biblical too, but that doesn't sound old. Like, old people names? Stuff like Gertrude or Abernathy or Constance. Those are old people's names. John doesn't carry that energy. But Enoch radiates old god territory. Yeah, I can only picture like a really old dude, but probably won't be if he's an engineer. I would think a super old dude would be retired in that field, but you never know. So yeah, overall, great to have Susato back. Very great conversations with her. And more tantalizing hints that, this conspiracy under the surface. There's a leviathan just beneath the surface of the water, lurking, stirring. And we have to reel in that beast, with not but a thin wire and a bamboo fishing pole. Oh boy. Alright, so what was that brand new location that was brought up? Oh. 2 new. Forensics Laboratory and... Wait. How was the new location added? Whatever. I really don't think this game can, like, glitch or anything. I think that's just genuinely unheard of in this entire franchise, so... if I missed something, well... Oh well? Oh well. So yeah, next time I guess we'll chat with Strongheart here, learn all we can. Then chat with Courtney, Not that Courtney, a new Courtney, a different Courtney. And go check out the crime scene. And as our last stop, the Wax Museum and Hairbrain. I do so enjoy the pacing of going from court to investigations, though only time will tell if the next trial will be the last trial session. Classic Ace Attorney formula is investigation, trial, investigation, trial, investigation, trial. 3 for each, I believe. So far, this game, it's only doing 2 each. Bit brisker, but we'll see if the pattern holds. I'm down either way. Yeah. I'm Zephyr the Jester. This has been more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll catch you next time. So until then, please take care.